7, The Adventure. It's by Jayant Narlikar. Okay, and here let me give you a brief sketch about the writer Jayant Narlikar. He was an Indian astrophysicist. Okay, and he had synthesized, or he had joined Einstein's theory of relativity and Mach's principle also. At the same time, because of his achievement, he had received so many national as well as international awards, and at the same time honorary doctorates also he has received. And in India, because of his achievement, he had received Padma Vibhushan also. So this was a big sketch about the writer. Now, if I talk about the story or the literary piece, The Adventure, this is here the writer is talking about, he himself is an historian, and that's why he talks about a historical event. Okay, and at the same time Gangadhar Pant, a character over here, the writer is not a historian. Here the character Gangadhar Pant, whom we are talking about, he is a historian, and he is once worried that what would happen if the Marathas would not grant concession to the East India Company. Okay, for what? To stay in Bombay, and they not to take their help in running the research wing of science and technology. So this was the worry of Gangadhar Pant, the historian. And at the same time, we see that slowly and gradually there is a touch of the British rule, how the things were during the British rule, and here the British, how they expanded their influence and dominance in India, that is also described in this story. So let's start. The Jijamata Express sped along the Pune-Bombay route considerably faster than the Deccan Queen. So Deccan Queen is also train, and here the journey or the adventure starts, and the train Jijamata Express is moving, which speed means speeded along the Bombay-Pune route, and almost so many, there were no industrial towns outside Pune while the train was moving. No such industrial outlook was there. Townships were also not there, and the first stop for the train, that is Jijamata Express, was what? That is after 40 minutes the Lonavala, at Lonavala the train stopped. And the Ghat section that followed was no different from what we knew. The look and things were not so different. Train stopped again at Karjat, and after a short while, and then it moved on still with a greater speed, and it rode through Kalyan, means the train started moving through Kalyan. That's a place. After a short while, the racing mind of Professor Gaitonde had arrived at a plan of action in Bombay. Gaitonde was moving on, and his mind was working. He was working on what? At a plan of action, what he should do as he reaches Bombay. As a historian, he felt that he should have thought of it sooner. He was sitting there, and he said, why did this thought did not come to his mind all this time? And so he felt it should have come to his mind earlier. So what would go to a big library? He would go to a big library and browse through history books. So what was his plan? After reaching to Bombay, he would go to a big library and then search out, browse means hunt out for the history books. That was the way he would do, and that would be the best way to know about the present state of affairs after he reaches. He also planned certain things also, other things also, that is, as he returns to Pune, he will there another character, Rajendra Deshpande is also there. So he will have a long talk or discussion with him at Pune also, and he feels that he would, Mr. Deshpande would help him definitely to understand what the things are, how the things are going on. That is assuming that in this world there existed someone called Rajendra Deshpande, and this, as there is a reference Mr. Gaitonde give about Deshpande, we can understand that in this story another character is also there, that is Rajendra Deshpande. Slowly and gradually the train moved on because Bombay-Pune highway, that is the hilly areas and so at times the train has to move through the tunnels. Then it stopped at a small station named Sharkar, and Anglo-Indian was seen dressed in an Anglo-Indian uniform. Ticket checker came there. Then this is where the British Raj, so seeing the man ticket checker dressed in Anglo-Indian attire, it is sure that the British rule is going on here. You are going for the first time, I presume, Khan Sahib asked. So he is asking, the person is asking that to Gaikonde, that first time I think you are moving. Yes, the reply was factually correct. Gangadhar Pant had not been to this Bombay before, and he ventured a question. And Khan Sahib, how will you go to Peshawar? So that's he being asked. That is, I think you are coming for the first time. So Mr. Gaikonde, Gangadhar Pant accepted that, and then is saying that how would he inquiring that how would he go to Peshawar. The train then moved on to Victoria Terminus, and then after that he said that he would take a mail tonight for the Central. As the train is going on, how far does it go? By what route? He is asking that how long does it go and through which route? Bombay to Delhi, then to Lahore, and then Peshawar. A long journey. I'll reach Peshawar the day after tomorrow. He is saying that he has to go to Peshawar. So how would we go? And then he is inquiring where does this train go? He is saying from Bombay the train would go to Delhi, then to Lahore, and via Lahore it will reach to Peshawar. So it's almost the whole day would get over, and the next day he would reach there. Then after, Khan Sahib spoke a lot about his business, and Gangadhar Pant was a willing listener. So the person over here, Gangadhar Pant and Khan Sahib, they both had a chat, and Gangadhar Pant was very interested in listening to whatever Khan Sahib was saying. And he was able to get some flavor of life in this India that was so different. So in the discussion, whatever he came to know about India and Indian thing, he was happy that certain Indian touch is there in that discussion. Slowly and gradually the train moved on to the rail traffic suburban, and then the blue carriages were seen carrying letters GBMR on the side. Greater Bombay Metropolitan Railway, that is what does it mean, full form of GBMR. And then Khan Sahib explained the full form of that. Then see the tiny Union Jack painted on each carriage, a gentle reminder that we are in British territory. And as Khan Sahib was talking, he was explaining Gangadhar Pant that showing the tiny Union Jack marks and all over things, that these are the trademarks that we are in the British territory. The train slowly and gradually moved on Dadar station, and then the destination came, that is Victoria Terminus. The train looked remarkably over that place. It was very neat and clean, and the staff was also mostly Parsis and Anglo-Indians, and a few British officers were also seen among them. As he emerged from the station, Gangadhar Pant found himself facing an imposing building. So the train stopped, now destination is reached, Victoria Terminus, and as emerged means got down. Gangadhar Pant got down. What did he find? That he found that he was standing before a big building, and big letters were written in big letters, and he could make out the identity. Who did not know this Bombay landmark? And East India Company, house headquarters of the East India Company, in bold letters it was written. Prepared as we were for many shocks, Professor Gaikonde had not expected this. So Professor Gaikonde, he did not expect that he would get some shocks, some unexpected answers and so on. The East India Company had shortly after the event, after 1857, this company had come there, and mostly in many of the history books also he has come across it. But flourishing, so history had taken a different turn. Perhaps before 1857, how and when had it happened? He had to find out. So certain things he knew, and he has to find out in the history, from the history books, at how things have turned up before or after 1857. He went on moving through the Hornby Road, and and then he found a few shops over there, office buildings and so on, and there was no handloom house building over there. Instead, what were there? There were goods of Woolworth departmental stores and the few offices of Lloyds, Barclays and other British banks were seen in the high streets of a town in England. That sort of things he found when he was walking. He turned to the right home street and then entered a Fox building. Who? I think. Okay. And I wish to meet Mr. Gangadhar Pant. And as he moved there in that building, he said that he wanted to the receptionist. She was also an English. He said to the English receptionist that he is interested in meeting Mr. Vinay Gaitonde. She looked into the telephonic director list and so on, in the staff directory list of the employees and so on. And after a short while, what did she say? That I'm afraid I can't find anyone of that name either. So she said that no one like Mr. Gaitonde or no name of Gaitonde is there in the list. Are you sure he works here? And she confirmed whether the person whom he is searching, Gangadhar Pant is searching, is really an employee of that place. This was a blow, not totally unexpected, and with full hope Gangadhar Pant had come here, and when he came to know that Vinay Gaitonde, no name of the such sort or no person of such sort is working there, it was really a bang on his head and he never expected that. If he himself who in the do's in this world, what guarantee had he that his son would be alive? Indeed, he may not even have been born. So the blow was so hard that he is saying that there is no guarantee whether his son, had he been not there, whether his son would be alive or not. And he said he may not have been even born, might be, if so. He thanked the girl politely, and then Gangadhar Pant started moving further. And he was characteristic of him not to worry about where he should stay. His main concern was to make his way to the library. So he did not give a second thought whether Mr. Gaitonde is not or there. He was concerned about his own plan, and that is first thing he has to move to the library of the Asiatic Society and then go through the history books and solve this riddle. So grabbing a quick lunch grabbing this fast, just dumping in the mouth. He had lunch in a restaurant and then started moving towards the town hall. To his relief, the town hall was there and it did house the library. Means the town hall took him to the library. He entered the reading room and lots of list of history books were before him. So many volumes, 5 volumes he saw on the table. Then from the beginning, he started turning the pages from the period of Ashoka, then Samudragupta, Muhammad Ghori, and then 4 up to the death of Aurangzeb. All these history books he started looking, and the change evidently had occurred in the last volume. He was going on and saying in the last volume probably this change has taken place. Reading all the 5 from both ends inwards, Gangadhar Pant finally covers on the precise moment that where history had taken a different turn. So all the 5 volumes he went across, and then he decided that in the last volume only the change must have taken, means history must have taken a turn. So he took the book, then that page which he was reading, there was the reference of Battle of Panipat, and at the same time Marathas, how they won the battle, this reference was also there. How Ahmad Shah Abdali was routed and how he was chased to Kabul by the Maratha army, and which was led by the Sadashivrao Bhau and his nephew, the young Vishwarao. This all reference was there in that book on the page which was opened before him. The boy did not go into a blow-by-blow account. The book did not go into a blow-by-blow account of the battle. Means a deep description of the battle was not given, and then written, and at the same time the consequences of the power struggle in India was also not given detail. Gangadhar Pant read every account very minutely, and the style the things were written in the style in which the things were written, and was unmistakably his. The writing was unmistakably his. He could make out the style of writing was definitely his. Yet he was reading the account for the first time. He said that the things written in the book was his himself, Gangadhar once, but he felt that he was reading the things for the first time. Their victory in the battle was not only a great moral booster to the Marathas, but it also established their supremacy in India. So it was given that in the battle of Panipat, where the Marathas won, that was really boosting, that really boosted the moral of the Marathas. And at the same time, their supreme power was well known throughout northern India. The East India Company, which was watching all these developments from them, they got the message and temporarily shelved its expansionist program. So, East India Company was watching all these things because it was between the Marathas and Ahmad Shah Abdali and so on, and that is why from that end the English were watching it and temporarily shelved its expansionist program. And what did they do? They for time being they kept it, dumped it for a while. For the Peshwas, the immediate result was an increase in the influence of Hau Sahib and Vishwarao, who eventually succeeded his father. And this win was really appreciable on part of the Peshwas, and their name and fame spreaded here and there, and both the Hau Sahib and Vishwarao, after that Vishwarao succeeded his father and became the ruler in the year 1780. The troublemaker Dada Sahib was relegated to the background and he eventually retired from the state politics too. Then in this family, Dada Sahib was a problem maker, and slowly and gradually as Vishwarao became the ruler, then he retired from this rule or the politics. To his dismay, surprise, loss of hope, the East India Company made its match in the new Maratha ruler. So, it is very sad to say that East India Company was always tried to poke their nose in the affairs which was going on with the Marathas and the Peshwas and so on. And luckily, they could come across a new Maratha ruler who favored the East India Company. Vishwarao. Okay. He and his brother Madhav Rao combined political acumen and valor and systematically expanded their influence all over India. He was a very strong ruler, Vishwarao, and his brother Madhav Rao, and both of them spread their name and fame throughout India. The company then reduced to pockets of influence near Bombay. So, because these Peshwas became famous, these Marathas became famous, Vishwarao and his brother, the companies, that is East India Company's importance lessened in Bombay, in Calcutta and Madras, just like the European rivals, Portuguese and the French. So many for few political reasons, the Peshwas kept the puppet Mughal regime alive in Delhi. 19th century, these de facto rulers from Pune were astute enough to recognize the importance of the technological age dawning in Europe. So, in the 19th century, these two Peshwas, they came to understand the importance of technology which had flourished in Europe. And so, what did they do? They also set up two centers of science and technology in India. East India Company then saw another opportunity to expand their influence. So, it offered help and experts to these Peshwas so that they can enter in the rule, or they could show their influence to these Peshwas. They were accepted only to make the local centers self-sufficient. But the help and exports, whatever were extended by the British East India Company, these Peshwas, what did they do? They accepted it, but they limited it to local centers only. Then in the 20th century brought about, there was again change in the West. India moved towards a democracy. What was the change? That in the 20th century, democracy was seen in India. Then the Peshwas lost their enterprises, and slowly and gradually the monarchy rule went on, and the democratic elected bodies came in place of them. the Sultanate at Delhi survived even this transition largely because it wielded to real influence. The Shahenshah of Delhi was no more than a figurehead to rubber stamp the recommendations made by the Central Parliament. So after the democratic rule, the Sultanate, that is Shahenshah of Delhi, he was just like a rubber stamp, and he did only whatever is recommended by the Central Parliament. Then Gangadhar Pant, these are the story what Gangadhar Pant is reading in the history book. So he went on reading, and so many places he started appreciating India, what he had seen. He started describing, or he started reading, that India was such a country which was subjected to slavery for the white man. He had also learned that to stand on its feet and knew what self-respect was. So he was so many places in the book he appreciated that India, so was such a country which has forced to remain as a slave in the hands of the white man. But still they were fond of self-respect, and that is how they won. From a position of strength and for purely commercial reasons, it had allowed the British to retain Bombay as the sole outpost to the subcontinent. Saying that for so many reasons, and because of from a position of strength and purely commercial reason, he is saying that the Indians fought hardly, and then he said that they made the British to move away from the continent. That lease was to expire in the year 21 according to the Treaty of 1908. So there was a treaty which was signed between the Britishers and the Indians authority, and then in the year it was to expire, this agreement in the year 2001, and the treaty was signed in the year 1908. Gangadhar Pant could not help comparing the country he knew with what he was witnessing around him. And so now Gangadhar Rao was reading the things in the book, and then he started comparing that how was India when he had wrote this thing, or when British rule was there, and what the country in reality is witnessing or seeing. He started comparing India of both the times, and at the same time he felt that his investigations were incomplete. So he said that the search what he had come for is not yet completed. How did the Marathas win the battle? To find the answer, he must look for accounts for the battle itself. So he was not getting a proper answer that how did the Marathas win. So he felt that he has to go in detailed description of when the battle started, how the battle started, means he had to go for a big account of the battle itself. He went through the books, the journals, whatever were lying before him, and at last among some of the books he found and which gave him the clues. And what was that? Bhau Saheb Anchi Bhakar, that were there. In that book he found the details. Although he seldom relied on the Bhakars for historical evidence, Gangadhar Pant did not did not trust these Bhakars for any historical evidences or things, but still he found that the book was or the material was entertaining him, so he read through. Sometimes he buried in the graphic but doctored accounts, he could spot the germ of truth. He did not thoroughly trust it, but while he was reading, certain germ, he spotted certain truth in the news or message what was given in that book. He found one now in a 3-line account of how close Vishwarao had come to being killed, and he also got a reference that how Vishwarao, the Maratha ruler, was killed. And after that he was saying that he was guided by his horse to the melee, and there the allied troops were fighting there. He attacked them, and God was so merciful to him that a shot just touched his ear, and after that even the difference of a till, that is schism, would have led to his death. Saying that he was saved, but just a mark of till, that is schism, had spared his life. otherwise he would have died. 8 o'clock, the librarian came and gave reminder to Professor Gaitondo that the library was to be closed. Gangadhar Pant still was reverberating, or certain thoughts emerged from his mind, and he looked around and noticed that he was the only reader left in that huge hall. I beg your pardon, sir. May I request you to keep these books here for my use tomorrow morning? By the way, when do you open? So Gangadhar Pant was getting so many evidences and he was interested. So he did not want to leave, but as time was over, he requested the caretaker of the library to keep those books wherever they are, and he inquired also when would the library open in the morning. 8 o'clock, the librarian gave the reply, and he was a user and researcher right after his heart. As the professor left the table, he shoved some notes into his right pocket absent-mindedly. He also shoved the bakar into his left pocket. As professor left, certain notes and things he kept in his pocket, and without knowing something, giving the reference of the bakar also, he put in his left pocket. So here I complete the first part. Next part I complete in our next lecture. Thank you.